This is the Lightning Junkies podcast with your host, Chaz. On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Fiatjaf and Rusty Russell, and we're doing a contrasty thing between different Lightning Network devs here, and they're kind of different worlds, and maybe trying to put ANYPREVOUT in there, maybe. Just a quick reminder before we jump into this episode that you can support us by listening to us on Breeze or many other value for value apps that would allow you to support us with Bitcoin over the Lightning Network can be found at podcastindex.org/apps. And you can personally support us here at the Lightning Junkies podcast by going to lightningjunkies.net/support. Now that's out of the way. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, I'm fine. Fiatjaf here.
Rusty here. I'm good too, and looking forward to it.
I think most people that know anything about the Lightning Network know who both of you guys are. For different reasons, I think. Obviously, Rusty is a protocol developer, and Fiatjaf, as Rusty was kind of describing you before, runs the full gambit of a full stack developer. So maybe the first question would be, Fiatjaf, how would you describe yourself as a developer? Would you say, "Don't describe me. I'm just working on Lightning"?
Yeah, basically that. I say programmer, never say developer. I don't know if this is the correct word. I think it's like an old-fashioned word these days.
Fiatjaf just tends to push the boundaries of things. So he comes to us with these great weird requests for stuff he's trying to do that makes it kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he's someone who's continually exploring the boundaries, I think, and just hacking on stuff. So programmer is great, coder, hacker, these all fit.
Yeah, I think I was thinking hacker, but I wasn't sure if that was still the appropriate term. Maybe the 1980s definition of hacker, where it's just, I enjoy being on my computer. So, okay, kind of going from there, I think maybe the biggest example of this phenomenon where Fiatjaf might kind of step in and try to help with things he might consider missing in, maybe the Bolt spec or maybe just Lightning Network in general, is LNURL. Fiatjaf, do you want to briefly let people know how that kind of started and what the thought process was and all that?
I didn't create that. It started on the BLW. The BLW guy and someone else wanted to do a way to request channel opens from a service to the wallet. Okay,
so it was my misunderstanding then. Sorry.
And then they invented that thing that later was called LNURL channel. And then the BLW guy was having trouble withdrawing from Lightning apps from his phone wallet on the desktop. So he came up with that LNURL withdrawal thing. The website shows a QR code and you scan it. Then I watched the video of the WeChat stuff from China and people buying pizza with a bunch of people standing in front of a guy that sells the food, and they were scanning a QR code. And I thought, wow, if we can do the other way, we can do the person scanning this static QR code and the store receiving a message that some guy bought a pizza and delivering the pizza to him. So I suggested that LNURL pay stuff, and then more people added other stuff to it. Before, like the LNURL withdrawal and channel were good ideas before, but no one was implementing them or using them for anything. So I waited to see if someone would do it, but no one was doing. So I started pushing it. Like I implemented it on the LNTX bot, and then I started talking to those small Lightning servers that existed at the time, like LNPay, the paywall stuff, the Lightning gifts, the microbet, and talking to these people, asking them to implement. And then I contributed to, I opened a PR to Blue Wallet, implementing it on Blue Wallet and somewhere else, I think Zeus Wallet. And then that generated a little bit of network effect, and then it started growing.
I guess the reason why I would ask, so I apologize for misattributing you there. But I knew you had a good like a hand in kind of pushing that along.
That's it. This story I told you. I was pushing it really hard for it.
So, but I guess like the reason why you might want to push something like LNURL along is kind of in contrast to what Rusty is working on with offers, right? This way of kind of doing these things with invoices that were just not built into the Lightning Network. Is that kind of what your reasoning was to kind of help push along this technology?
No, I'm not sure. I think the offers didn't exist at the time, and I like the idea of having it as a separate thing, decoupled from the Lightning Network, like the protocol side. Also because the protocol didn't have a way to pass arbitrary messages between nodes, like it was just payments. If I remember well, the first draft of offers was using failed payments or something, like just like the WhatsApp stuff, the initial proposal for doing chat on Lightning Network. And I don't like that idea. Didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. So Fiatjaf's absolutely right. So this LNURL is like a collection of things that you need to make Lightning better, right? There's a whole heap of like spanners and tools that make Lightning way more usable. The static invoices thing that basically you can get from LNURL is really cool. A lot of that work inspired the offers work, and I'm like, cool. But it requires more infrastructure, right? So offers is slow because we have to get messaging infrastructure, which means everyone, spec needs to be upgraded, people need to support it and all that thing. But that's cool because we have LNURL. So I'm like, okay, we can take our time to do this right. LNURL just uses HTTP, like it's very easy for web devs to master, and it's harder to use a messaging thing that goes through the Lightning Network. There are some benefits for sure, but if you want something today, LNURL is great, and it's kind of giving me some breathing room to kind of make sure that offers is developed. And offers does a whole heap of other things too. The two are, in some ways, in competition. But for example, the channel opening and other stuff that LNURL offers is not something that is in offers at all. I see LNURL as a great layer on top of bits that people wanted, that wallet devs wanted to make things work better.
Rusty, what do you think of this, like the idea of turning Lightning into a generalized message network? Like you can pass any messages. Is that scalable? I'm not sure about this. If it's restricted to payment stuff, but if you open like to anything, I'm not sure it will work.
So the problem is people are doing it already, right? People are using failed payments as this message. So it's like, well, let's give them a lighter way of doing that. So the thing about onion messages is there's no state, which is nice. The onion message itself contains the blinded return path. So, but there's no errors. Basically, if something goes wrong, you just have to retransmit and stuff like that. So it's really, really lightweight for nodes. They just decrypt it, unwrap it, and push it onwards.
So it's like just making a Tor-like network inside Lightning.
Yeah, it is the dumbest possible, simplest possible network using the existing kind of onion format and everything else. So it's really easy to implement. And the only thing is the CPU usage and the network usage. It doesn't use up HTLC slots or anything else that you get with bogus messages. So that it's pretty easy to implement. We've obviously got it in C Lightning. There's the draft spec out for onion messages. And I would like the others to kind of go and do it. But you don't need a channel to do onion messages. So if no one supports onion messages, you can always just connect directly to the destination and send them an onion message, right? It's pretty obvious it came from you. Like you just connected to them to send them this message. But as a workaround, if you're using it over Tor, it probably doesn't matter as much. Obviously, if you're doing it in the clear, then they can harvest your IP, which is kind of the same thing that you get from LNURL. So there is that. But it's a longer term thing because you want it to roll out across the whole network so that everyone can do it, and then you can send onion messages through. In the very long term, we may end up having to charge for onion messages, right? Like a millisat per forward or something.
That would be great.
Yeah, but I think we're a long way from that now. We'll probably just rate limit them for the moment.
We should be rate limit these failed payments. There are tons of failed payments, probes. Oh, I hate these things.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I built onion messages partially because that's the way offers work, right? You get an offer, you reach out to get the real invoice, and then you pay that invoice, right? So we needed a messaging system, and I agree with you. The horrible way to do it is to fake payment, which clogs up the network and does all these terrible, like it's a probe. But the thing I like about onion messages is it is a probe, right? You kind of get to make sure there's a path at least, right? That everyone on the path is up and responsive. So before you make a payment, so that's it is kind of higher latency because you got these two passes. But the first pass does give you some information, and also that's kind of a weak incentive for them to forward the message for you, because if you don't forward the message, then if you're not forwarding my messages, I'm not going to use you to make the payment either. So ideally, right, you've got some weak incentive to play well there. But to go back to the whole problem of like the whole LNURL versus like offers thing is kind of a little bit like offers is much more ambitious and so going to take longer. And I love the fact that we've got this broad ecosystem, and people come up with solutions for stuff. And it may be that like I expect LNURL to be around for an awfully long time just because it works today and it's simple. Only as people like want the more sophisticated stuff in offers, like recurring payments and proof of payment and things like that, or proof of payer, importantly, that we'll start seeing offers kind of come through. But it's it's a slow dance because everyone's got to upgrade, and infrastructure is always hard.
How about we kind of go into that a bit more? So from either of your two's perspectives, it's how do you kind of, how do I ask this question? How do you kind of develop a framework for how you expect the speed of your development to take? Obviously, on the protocol side, it's extremely slow relative to an application person or a front end person who can just go super fast. Could you guys just kind of comment on how do you picture that in your mind? How do you model that? How fast should it go? Should there be a certain speed, et cetera, et cetera?
So I can describe why it's slow. And the obvious one is that, you've got to not just implement it, but you've got to spec it out. And that slows you down for two reasons. One, because you've actually got to write the text that says you should do this, you should not do this, all that stuff. But it also slows you down because you've got to think about it a lot more. You're not like, oh, I can just fix this later. You have to actually know, oh, crap. How will we fix this later? How will that happen? And all those things. So that slows you down a bit. But the other rule is that we don't get something into the spec where it's like, it's all good to go, it's on the network, until you've got two independent interoperable implementations. And that has saved our ass so often, because the second person comes along and goes, cool, I want to implement this. And they really look at it, right? And they're like, why did you do it this way? Why not this way? Like, it would be easier for us if you did it this way. Or this is just dumb. Or, if we did this, we could do these other cool things too. And that happens almost every single time. Because, it's one thing to read a proposal. It's another thing to actually try to make it work with your code. And so it's not just a token thing to have the second implementation. It's really important. And it turns out better. But yeah, that takes time. So firstly, you've got to have two projects that it gets to the top of the priority list. And there's a lot of stuff you could be doing, right, in Lightning today. So, you think it's important. You do the spec and you do the implementation, you get yours working. And you've got to find some other wallet developer or some other Lightning node developer who also is excited enough to get to the top of their priority list. And then they go through and then they give you feedback. And then you kind of rev the spec. And then you finally, that may cause the first person to have to modify their implementation to fit the changes that are being proposed. And you go back and forth until you're both really happy with it. And then you go, right, you make it work together. You test that it does actually work, and sometimes that proves, I thought that sentence meant this. Oh, I thought it meant this. Okay, let's clarify the spec, right? Let's decide which one and fix it. So, you do all that, and then it finally goes into the spec. And at that point, you go, cool, we're live on the network. Everyone can support this, right? It's not just an experimental weird thing anymore. And then you see it start to roll out. So there's all these kind of stages that it goes through. Mainly because we don't want random crap on the network that breaks and you have these horrible hacks to try to work around it. But yeah, that's going to be a slow process. But, it does get us some pretty good, robust results in the end, right? Things that we go, cool, we're going to be happy supporting that in 10 years' time, right? We're happy for somebody writing a new Lightning implementation from scratch that they're going to have to do this. And, they're not going to look at us insanely and punch me in the face when they see me at a conference because I did some stupid, crazy stuff in the spec. Yeah, it is. So that's way slower than here's a cool hack I can do. Let's go hack it. But you need that too, right? People have got to be experimenting, and so if you get this right, you've got your experiments happening on one level, and you've got your okay, cool. We're prepared to live with this forever. We're going to marry this kind of level, and that's going to be slower.
On the application side, at least my hobby do everything style is just I come up with an idea and start implementing it and abandon the other ideas. Then I come back to the other ideas and I don't calculate anything. But let me ask something. Let me ask you something, Rusty. What do you think of the idea of having a BIP style thing for optional features, like either in the Lightning layer or in like around it? Because I think like you have a very solid base on Lightning, like the basic messages and that these things that will never change probably. And then there's a ton of stuff that could be done on the top, like key send and whatever. These things, I don't think they ever should be put inside the core spec. Like the core spec, I imagine it's better if it remains small and solid. And then you can have a bunch of optional stuff. And I think the idea of the network was to have a bunch of optional stuff because you have these features bits. Like
KeySend is a really good example there. So KeySend doesn't have any spec. You've got to read an implementation to figure out how it works. And that sucks, right? That's even worse than having like at least if someone had like something somewhere you could point at it wherever it was. So yeah, a few people have kind of said, hey, we should do this kind of split between like core and like optional extra stuff, which I think is actually a really good idea. And I wonder if we should go, well, let's just do Bolt like 100 and above is like optional stuff and advice kind of stuff, like, because there's a whole lot of people building stuff and, there's a lot of best practices that isn't really like a requirement, but, you probably should think about it kind of thing.
I think maybe Bolt 11 maybe should be part of this non-core stuff. Although at this point it's so widespread, but like someone could came up with another way of transmitting payment data that's better, and then slowly people could be changing to that. But yeah, I don't think this will happen.
Yeah, well, that's Bolt 12. Bolt 12 replaces Bolt 11, right? So, we could put that at like Bolt 100 plus. Cool. That's and 100 plus could be LNURL and a whole heap of other things. It's like here's the stuff that you should look at implementing on top of Lightning.
Bolt 11 is just the encoding, right? So in Bolt 12, you send the same data, but in different not the batch 32 encoding.
Yeah, there is a BEC 32 encoding. So the reason I abandoned Bolt 11 is it wasn't extensible either. There's no way to put new fields in Bolt 11. You can jam new fields in there, but you can't indicate whether or not these fields are compulsory or not. So in the wire protocol, we've got a really good method for saying, cool, this field is compulsory, this field isn't. It's also really tied to BEC 32. It's like a 5-bit protocol. I was proud of it when I came up with it, but if you try to send that across the wire rather than in a QR code or something, it's just messy. Even the signature requires the encoding. Right? There's no separate thing between the encoding and the signature. So Bolt 12 is basically the same as the wire format, and then you just turn that into a BEC 32. If you want to present it, you present it as BEC 32. That's great, but it has a real format underneath, which is more compact than some of the mess we did in Bolt 11. Bolt 11 has like this 1024 length limit on fields because we had 5 bits to play with, or 10 bits. We chose 10 bits, like 2 5-bit fields, and stuff like that. I was kind of really hacking the bits to try to squeeze Bolt 11 down, and some of those trade-offs were not great, particularly when people want to put blinded paths in things. This idea, so Bolt 11 has route hints. You can go, cool, here's how you can get to me. But they're pretty open. They tell you exactly how to get to someone. And while you can obfuscate that a little bit, what we really want is a blinded path where you go, cool, talk to this node here, give them this blob and put that inside your onion. And here's a series of those. And basically, you don't know what you're putting in the onion, right? It unwraps it and it goes, cool, now I know where to go next. So you can provide this blinded path. But those get pretty big. So, we start to get into problems with Bolt 11 there. And yeah, implementing Bolt 11 is pretty freaking awful, whereas implementing Bolt 12 is trivial. Like, it's really easy. So yeah, there's a reason to do that. And I wanted to extend it with new fields and stuff. A vendor field, like, this is a common request, right? There's no vendor field in Bolt 11. There's a description field, and people often put the vendor there. Like, Strike puts Strike in there. Like, well, it doesn't tell me what I'm paying for, right? Like, why? Who am I sending this money? Like, I'm sending it to Strike. Yeah, great, but who am I sending it to? Why am I sending it?
I don't like the vendor field. I think there should be another thing that ties public keys to vendors, like some central registry or something that the wallets can query to say, oh, this pub key is from some vendor. That would add more credibility to the vendor field or something. So
the vendor field is optional, but I wanted to stop people putting stupid vendor information in the description. So that's why. Somebody actually came up to me and said, actually, to be a legal receipt, it needs to have a vendor for us. And I'm like, I looked at the law in Australia too. That's the same. You have to, one of the things you need is a vendor field. You need to say, who is this from? Now, it's not authenticated, right? They can put anything they want in there, like same with their node aliases. But people actually want this as a separate field. And I'm like, okay, we'll put it in as an option. But yes, a way to actually validate people's nodes against something else, we probably would have to use something similar to the way that Let's Encrypt validates that you own a website or something like that. Some kind of website probe is the most obvious thing. Tie it to a domain, right? It's a hard problem though, right? But it would increase the reliability if you could go, cool, I have done some validation that really is, the Lightning Junkies podcast that you're paying to, rather than something calling itself the Lightning Junkies podcast. And there's a whole pile of identity in there, and Microsoft have a thing that does identity on top of, there's a whole. I would love somebody to dive down that rabbit hole and come back with an answer for us.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're volunteering.
Yeah, I'll add it to my list of
awesome.
at the bottom of the most useless thing I have.
It's important, but it's a huge problem. That would be great to have have at least a rudimentary solution for. Would be pretty awesome.
Just to jump in here, so I wanted to ask Fiatjaf. So you kind of mentioned your list right now. What sort of things are on your, Lightning Network wish list here? We have Rusty here, so let's hash it out.
Okay, I have some things, but they're not on the Rusty side. One thing is hosted channels. I think it's very important stuff, like to replace all the custodial wallets with hosted channels that are somewhat custodial, but they're custodial, but they're private. They are cryptographically safer. Like you know if the person is robbing you, there's no excuses there, and they can't see who you're paying. I think this is very important. Like, you can have a wallet with hosted channels to multiple providers and do MPP payments between them. It's a big improvement in relation to custodial wallets that we have today, and I want hosted channels routing too. So if you have two routing nodes and they have a hosted channel between them, they should be able to route a payment there. This is. Not sure how to solve this, because these channels cannot be propagated to the channel graph. And also, I have more stuff to say on this, but on the other thing I was working is this liquid integration. I was working on a bridge node that bridges Lightning networks from the liquid side to the main chain side. And the routing was difficult, so I started implementing trampoline routing. I'm not sure this is like for the trampoline routing from the bridge, from the liquid side to asks the bridge node to do a trampoline to the Bitcoin side. And I'm not sure this is the best solution, but I think it's a fair, good enough. But I was thinking, in the future, if we have the Lightning Network as a core network and a bunch of different networks around it that can integrate with Riff. Like this liquid network could be there, and it could interact with the normal Lightning network. And hosted channels, like each one is its own network. Let's say we could say that, and maybe some other sidechain or something. You can have a network there, and there is this proposal for having state chains and Lightning channels on top of state chains is also something possible, but wouldn't fit in the normal protocol. It would be slightly different, and also you wouldn't be able to announce these channels on the routing graph. So I'm not sure how to solve this. Please solve it.
Yeah. So this is, interestingly, this goes back to the original Sidechains paper that Blockstream released before I joined Blockstream. Like right, their opening thing was talking. They pointed out that you can do atomic swaps in and out of like a sidechain, because even though your sidechain mechanism may require 100 blocks or whatever delay, but of course with the Lightning network, that's an atomic swap for you right there. So just use that to get in and out is a great idea. The gossip propagation rules for a sidechain would probably be different. For anti-spam reasons, we require that you prove that you own the channel, like basically that there is a UTXO before we'll accept your gossip message about it. All the hard problems in Lightning we solve by going, well, we'll just use Bitcoin, the main chain, to solve that, right? And this is one of those examples, right? So it's hard to do gossip about chains you don't know about, because you can't validate the proof. You could probably use a new UTXO model similar, but you may want to use something different. But then you've got to handle, how you handle spam for the network and things like that. So, but I think it should basically work. You could have a separate gossip messages. And at the moment, everyone will ignore gossip messages on networks they don't care about or know about. In fact, when you connect with a NIT, you're supposed to say what networks you care about. So your partner can even filter messages for you. Go, cool, I know you don't care about the Lightning, the Liquid network, so I'm not going to send you any of that gossip. Or you do, and so I'll send that all to you. But if they do, you'll just ignore it anyway. So we can have gossip about other networks, but it does mean that you've got to track two networks.
The other side is more important, but if you're on Liquid, it's likely that the Liquid Lightning network will be a small subset of the total network. So if you're receiving a payment on the Liquid side, the sender can use like that blinded paths stuff or routing hints to reach you. But from the other side, it's more difficult, like because you don't have an easy way. It's possible to receive the gossips, but I couldn't do that on the C-Lightning plugin. Receive the gossip messages and forward them. So I'm doing this trampoline thing.
Let's see what we can do about that. C-Lightning gossip, other networks. We should definitely support that.
I think trampoline messages is trampoline routing is good enough. It's a good thing to have, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of exciting. So just for those who don't know, I should disclose here, I work for Blockstream, and one of our products is like this Liquid sidechain. That's a federated system where basically it runs the different rules. The federations sign off on each block. The blocks are like 1 minute apart, like clockwork, rather than this Poisson process that we use for Bitcoin. So it's this different trust model. If all of the, or if the majority of the I think it's a supermajority. If 11 of the 15 nodes decide they could take all your money, kind of thing, they're all run by different operators and everything else. So it is a different security model, but it has some cool features. So there are reasons that you would use that over on-chain Bitcoin, because it's a different economic model as well. It doesn't require fees so much for payments. So once you're on there, using the Lightning network to bridge across that is actually kind of interesting and professionally interesting, because it helps pay my salary and stuff like that. So so just to give you some background, that's kind of the Liquid network and the background there. As I said, atomic swaps were talked about for that before Lightning even existed. So it's kind of cool to see that come together as the two parts. And Fiatjaf, I am taking notes of everything you're saying.
Okay, let me say another thing then. What do you think of these closing channels? Like, I'm very annoyed at this, that we close channels to redeem HTLCs that don't exist. Like, this is very weird and wrong. We shouldn't be doing this, right?
Right. Okay, so Dust HTLCs. That's easy to fix, right? You can,
I'm not sure it is.
well, you can just kind of go, well, that's not worth me closing a channel over.
But then what to do with that unresolved LTOC?
Well,
I think the first step is not closing the channel, but then we don't know what to do with that.
you're right. You have to probably take the loss and close it upstream and hope you can deal with it later. Because that's what will happen if you go on chain. You could say if you come back and your peer tries to redeem the HTLC, like they go away for a week, right? And after 3 days, you want to close the channel, but you don't. You just close out the HTLC, you fail it on the way back. You go to everyone, oh, it failed. And then your peer comes back after a week and says, no, I've got the pre-image for you. And at that point, maybe you go, no. And you close the channel then. I mean, you haven't lost anything, right? You're no worse off.
You're no worse off, yeah.
All right. But probably they come back and go, oh, sorry, yeah, let's just fail at HTLC and you're good. So that's like the simplest thing to do.
Yeah, I hope this works. But there are other cases like please implement this. But
yeah, taking notes.
On the other side, like if you have a pre-image and you're sending a pre-image to the node and it's not responding or it's offline, and then it comes back a week later and says, you didn't give me a pre-image. Now pay me, please. And then, no, I had the pre-image here. You didn't want it. You didn't take it.
But you could still choose to close in that case or not. I mean, you may end up in an argument, but you're talking about a dust HTLC, so you're talking about a tiny amount of money. You've got to decide, is it worth you closing or not? Now, there's got to be some arithmetic in there.
But the problem is that if there's a logic, like if one side always loses, the other can exploit that and do 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, you do need to add them up and go, okay, what's the total here? It also depends who's paying the fee for closing, right? If they opened the channel, then it's free for you to close. So there is it's a bit of a dick move to do, but you can close the channel because you know they're paying for it, maybe. But fundamentally, with really small HTLCs, you're relying on that. Enforcement is really expensive. That going on chain is expensive, so you try not to do it. I will need to think about what we do the other way. If you want to redeem the HTLC and they're offline, do you just close on them anyway? You could use the statistical method, right? You could go, you'll sometimes, but don't always do it, right? So that it's not as likely to be gamed. People can't count on it happening. We could do something. Almost anything we do would be better than just closing and getting upset with them. Good, very good point.
I was thinking there could be an alternative method, like the blockchain is the hard method that you use for big HTLCs, but that could be a soft arbiter method that you choose your two nodes choose someone to be the arbiter of that HTLC, though the small HTLCs. Not sure.
Oh, I like that idea. Arbiter for small HTLCs. I mean, to some extent, yes, we're going to end up in that. I mean, why were you away for a week, dude? Like, to take a holiday? Like, I don't know. If you've got a live HTLC and you're going away for a week, we're kind of already in, like, I don't know. How long am I going to let to go? I don't know. Maybe the arbiter for small HTLCs is like, I send you a message over Signal to go, dude, can you give me the pre-image for this? Or, I've got your pre-image, man. Bring your node back online. I don't know.
But I think having an automated arbiter is like, you have the pre-image and you're sending to the arbiter. You're sending to the other peer and it's not responding. So you send to the arbiter instead of closing the channel and sending the pre-image to the chain. Which you wouldn't do because the HTLC is not there anyway. You send to the arbiter, and then when the other node comes back, the arbiter tells him, "I have the pre-image here in the time like you weren't here, so you have to have the costs." And if the other node doesn't agree, you close the channel and you blacklist it. I don't know.
Yeah, you could do that. Like if you didn't do an arbiter and we're just riffing now, but if you just sent you the pre-image, what should the other one do? Should they accept the loss? Like take it, go, okay, whatever. I don't know. But
if they're only getting the pre-image after the timeout.
Yeah.
they wouldn't know. Maybe they're honest and their node crashed, and they don't know if they're wrong or not. Like they will assume you were wrong, but they are wrong because they were offline. Or maybe they're trying to trick you.
That's right. I mean, the thing is, you can't really determine who was offline, right? I mean, I may think, well, I couldn't reach you either, right? You were offline. You're like, no, you were offline. Whose fault is it? Maybe that's what the arbiter's for, because you go, well, I killed the arbiter at this time, and I should have been asking the arbiter, by the way, I can't reach this dude. Has he sent me anything? Like, is there any messages for me? And you basically run the channel through the arbiter for a while because you can't reach each other, maybe?
Yeah, the arbiter has to try to connect you, like, so it serves that purpose. Yeah, it also fixes like the preimage going through the payer, because today if you pay a 10 set invoice and something bad happens in the middle, I think that the payee may have released the preimage, but the preimage may not get to the payer.
That's true.
Because it's not on chain, because it's too small. Okay, but I think like the first thing you suggested is already a big improvement, like just not closing. And
cool. It won't make this next release because that is pending immediately. Lisa's release captain, so it's up to her. But it will take me probably 24 hours to code and test. So
don't overpromise that. You have to
release after that.
Okay.
So yeah, you will have to wait 3 months, but we will definitely do that. Okay. No, I like that. Cool. Wow, that's progress. Chaz, do you have any other questions you can lead us to?
Yes.
To add more features.
When L2?
Right. Well, okay. So let's hit that, because that's the fun one here. So, well, not okay. I'll take that back. That's one of the funner ones. But I was really enjoying your guys' conversation when you guys are just riffing and going back and forth. That's exactly what I wanted here. But so Fiatjaf, you created ANYPREVOUT.xyz, this website that kind of goes over BIP 118, SIGHASH, ANYPREVOUT, formerly SIGHASH, no input, and kind of went over kind of all the things that, you know, what it would allow. It would allow L2, what would L2 allow, etc. Do you kind of briefly want to explain ANYPREVOUT? You know, either you guys can explain it for me, because I don't really understand it completely. But ANYPREVOUT, and then briefly explain L2, and then we can kind of get into a back and forth about that stuff.
I think it's better to Rusty explains this, but ANYPREVOUT is just you plug the transaction to any. Oh, anyway, go Rusty, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, when you create a transaction and you sign it, you also sign basically whatever it spends. So you can't give me a transaction that I can also use to spend some other output. And that's usually what you want. But there's this cool hack you can do in Lightning, where what you do at the moment is you have this special revocation key that you exchange, so that if I've got a channel with Fiatjaf and I try to cheat by basically publishing an old channel state, I've previously agreed to I've given him the keys. That means he can take all the funds. This is a penalty transaction. What you could do instead is just Fiatjaf goes, no, that's an old state. I'll just fix it up for you. But to do that, he needs this kind of magic signed transaction from me that he can also sign, that he can attach to whatever I drop on chain, any of the previous ones. So state 1, state 2, state 3, we've made all these changes, we've sent all these payments to the channel, we've got like 100,000 states. Whichever one of those old ones I drop, Fiatjaf goes, well, that's not right, and just drops the latest one on top and just spends whatever old one I've dropped to his and fixes it up. And so instead of a penalty, it's a much more kind of friendly method, but it has a whole heap of it's way nicer. This revocation stuff is actually kind of dangerous. So I've given Fiatjaf, I promise I will never ever spend an old transaction. Here you go. Here's the keys. So if I ever try it, you can take all my money. But mistakes happen, and almost every case is like people have accidentally stole the other person's money because they restored an old backup or something like that. And so this toxic data turns out to be a huge problem. So L2 just kind of fixes that. It's easy. You just fix up whatever they put on Chico. Well, that was ridiculous. Just put the latest one. To do that efficiently, we need SIGHASH ANYPREVOUT, which basically lets a signature attach to any one of a number of different transactions, basically. And that's the exciting thing for Lightning and L2. But there are other cool things on the ANYPREVOUT.xyz site that I'm happy to let Fiatjaf cover.
Well, one of the things is the state chains proposal. That is, I'm not sure, should we be talking about this here? Is a way to have an UTXO exchange hands without touching the chain by using a state chain entity like a server or a federation that signs for you, and you handhold, like you pass the keys, like it's a 2 of 2 multi-sig and or whatever taproot stuff, and one person holds the keys and the federation holds the other key, and that person gives the key away to the next person they're sending the money to and notifies the federation, so the federation knows only that current owner can spend the UTXO. And basically the federation also gives each user, so it's not a full custodial stuff, because each current owner of the UTXO has a transaction that they can redeem on chain if the federation goes away or vanishes or whatever. But you need L2, the same L2 mechanism to replace a past transaction. So if a previous owner of that UTXO tries to publish their transaction, the current owner can replace that with the new one. It's like the new state, just like on the Lightning channel.
Just to jump in really fast, I just want to let the listeners know that the most previous episode to this, which has not aired yet or been released yet, is the episode with Ruben Thompson, where he kind of explains state chains and space chains. That'll be out for you guys. It'll be out next Friday. For everyone else, it'll already be out because we're going to release this one second.
Ah, clever.
Right.
So we should cut this part where I explain it badly and just let Ruben explain it.
Yeah, but it gives Chaz a really good chance to shill the previous one too. No, I'm looking forward to listening to that episode myself. So.
Well, so something good about that one is it helped me to kind of understand things a little bit better before getting into this conversation, which I felt like was at least slightly more technical. So I kind of have better questions, and I know Fiatjaf likes drive chains, so I thought maybe versus kind of rehashing the same things I did on that episode, that we might go to a different place, because Ruben didn't really want to comment on drive chains too much. He hasn't really looked into them. And so I'm wondering if Fiatjaf could give us a better contrast between drive chains and space chains, because I feel like, I mean, obviously they're not the same thing. One's a two-way peg, one's a one-way peg, etc. But I feel like they have relatively the same goals. Do you have any particular opinion on that, Fiatjaf?
I think they don't have the same goals. Like space chains for me is a way to do blockchain stuff without shitcoins. Like there's some things that are interesting to do in blockchains, like the name stuff, like the name coin idea, but without the name shitcoin and other things. And like space chains allows you to do that. I especially don't like very much the idea of Ruben's idea of having a space coin that is a one-way peg coin created from Bitcoin. It's kind of a shit coin too, but it tries hard to not be a shit coin because it can't go pump and dump on investors and stuff. But I like more like having a blockchain that exists without a native currency on it, and you can have names on it and pay the miners like out of band through Lightning on the websites, or you can have a space chain with some assets there, like whatever asset, like maybe a Bitcoin asset issued by someone or dollar asset, and then you pay the miners with these assets, the space coin miners. Yeah, that's it. And then the drive chains, like full sidechain stuff that you have Bitcoin in it, and you can do Bitcoin stuff with other benefits. So maybe just I think they go well together, because if you have space chains, if you have a way to do blind merge mining like space chains do, and then later you add the hash 8, hash whatever, the BIP 300 mechanism to jump the bitcoins from the main chain to the side chain, you can basically take the bitcoins from the main chain and put them on a space chain, and then the bitcoins guaranteed by BIP 300 will be the native currency of that space chain. So they have a synergy.
Just to ask the question, what do you think about drive chains, Rusty?
Yeah, so it's a little bit outside my, I try not to go down too many rabbit holes at once. But I'm excited about experimentation in this space, and I share Fiatjaf's kind of concern. Like, you don't want to create a shitcoin. There's all kinds of skewed incentives when you create your own currency that go away when you go, cool, well, it's just Bitcoin and that's all easy. So and particularly the nice thing about all these proposals is they're isolated, right? You don't have to use it if you don't want to. They exist, and it doesn't damage Bitcoin in any way. So from like a high level, I'm broadly supportive, but I'm not in the weeds and can't give any like deep technical critiques, I think, to any of these.
Something else on this website that is interesting to me, but totally confusing, and I can't imagine exactly how it would look in practice, are multi-party channels or channel factories. I was kind of talking about Ruben with him about it ever so briefly. I think even he kind of had kind of a hard time articulating how exactly things would work in practice. Could I get your guys' opinion on channel factories, and maybe if you have any idea on how they might work in practice? Because I generally don't have a clear idea on that.
You need to ask Christian Decker this one. So the whole channel factories thing is really his plaything. But just from a high level, the idea that basically you can create channels on top of channels. So you have this channel between the two of us, but then it becomes this split channel between multiple separate parties. But the trick is that you can unroll it so that you kind of re-anchor it back to the beginning, and you get, there's a lot less trust issue. You still have the availability issue, I understand. So like if we've got a channel and one of us goes away, we need two signatures, we're screwed. But we need to go on chain in that case, but you can build this kind of layered system. It's kind of interesting because the Bitcoin Beach has like a shared custody model for their Lightning stuff that they're using. And I expect it would morph eventually into a more trustless kind of system, somewhat like this, where they would use channel factories to basically create these micro channels between each other that are actually deep down, like, one or a handful of big channels. But if you wanted to get into the weeds, you should really ask Christian Decker this. So there you go. You've lined up a future guest for your podcast.
Whisper, whisper. I have him scheduled for Friday.
You're all over it, Chaz. Awesome.
But go ahead, Fiatjaf. Did you have anything to say on that?
Well, the thing I like about this is I'm not sure how it works exactly, but I think you can have a multi-party channel like with 10 people, and then you can bring other people in, and they like the initial 10 people will be the custodians for the other ones that come up later. But like, it's a custodian, like if any of the 10 are honest, then the people that come later are safe. So it's like a federation that, I'm not sure this is correct, but I think it's a federation that if only one of the members of the federation is honest, none of the others can steal from the newcomers that come later and join the multi-party channel without signatures.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. But the other downside of that is if any one of them is unresponsive, you're stuck and you need to redeem on chain. So that's always the trust model, right? Like, how reliable do you need? You've got this exchange between how available is everyone and how many people do you trust. And this is not a crypto problem. This is like a general problem in law and all these other things. Like, how many signatures do you need to get this, to do this thing, right? It fundamentally is this trade-off. So it's sort of fundamental as I understand. But it makes more sense. Let's assume that in the future everyone's got good backups and good backup systems and everything else. Then it might make perfect sense to have this. And of course, the funds aren't lost. It's just that you do have to have an on-chain event if those 10 kind of fail. So picking your threshold is hopefully gets easier as people get more reliable, as systems get more reliable.
Yeah, hopefully you won't lose the 10 people channel because of a 10 set payment that failed.
Yes. Oh, someone should fix that, Fiatjaf.
Kind of moving along here really fast, I had a question for Rusty specifically. So anyone that watched our previous show with Rusty would know, or just know in general, because people know about Rusty, is that he started his I'm not sure calling it starting your dev career, but just you used to do Linux kernel dev, and you did that for many years, from my understanding. Kind of awkward question, but have you ever experienced a similar kind of dynamic where you're working on, like, quote unquote, the super important stuff, and then there are other devs throughout the ecosystem that would just take it upon themselves to take ownership of various things, kind of similar to how Fiatjaf's doing here?
Oh yeah. No, Fiatjaf reminds me of a younger me, only smarter. That's very much the model. Like with any open source kind of volunteer organization, people come in and go, oh, this is really cool. I want to go do this, right? And they just start diving in and doing stuff. And that's like what Fiatjaf does, right? He's like, oh, this would be cool. We should do this, and we should fix this. And I don't know how he has enough time in the day to do it all, but it very much reminds me of that vibe that we had in the early Linux days, right? I became maintainer of the firewalling stuff because I had some hacks, and I kind of sent them to the maintainer and went, oh, cool, I think we could have this thing. And they liked it so much that they ripped out the old code, put mine in. And shit, I woke up one morning and I was the maintainer of the firewalling. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing, right? What? Right? But when someone shows competence and they're and they're enthusiastic and they just start doing stuff, that's how stuff gets done. It very much has that very similar vibe to kind of like, and the other thing is, like, Lightning is such an open field. Like we've had a pretty broad ranging discussion, but we could continue this discussion for another 10 hours on all the cool things that we can do with Lightning. It's such an open field that I think if you're enthusiastic and interested, you will find something cool to work on, which for me is like really amazing. And that's why that's why I get up at 5:30 in the morning to take these spec calls and stuff, because it's exciting. Like it's great, and there's so much stuff to do. So that's my pitch. You should join us, whoever you are listening. You should figure out what interests you in the space and just go do it, because you'll find there's so much elbow room. There probably isn't someone else doing exactly that right now, and you could be the one, right?
Yeah,
I
love those calls to action. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to do another call to action. Like, I think we need more apps like doing fancy things, like things that you can't not do with the current credit card stuff for payments. Like even the most basic experiments. I started doing like small apps that did like weird things. But then I as I learned more about the protocol, I started doing more closer to the protocol stuff. But still trying to. But I think there people that come to the space, they go through this, like how they love Lightning and they jump into the protocol side. But I think we need more of the apps that do stuff in the real world, even if it's silly stuff and small stuff. I'm not sure what I'm saying now, but that's the idea.
That is absolutely true. Yeah. If you have some idea of something you'd like to try doing on Lightning, there's so much stuff you could do that you're probably going to be the first to do it, right? It's still early, right? You're still in that stage where it's, for better or worse, it's not like, oh, cool, yeah, there's 5 packages that do that already. You'll often be the one having to do it yourself. And you could well be the first, which is cool.
And not just for people that are doing dev, any people that aren't necessarily into the tech stuff specifically. could always start a podcast and start learning that way. Whisper, whisper. That's what I did. And so, not everyone's suited towards that. Not everyone has the mind for it or the dedication or whatever, but you might be a more creative minded person. So I would definitely advise anyone that has the inkling in the middle of their stomach somewhere to pull it out and not ignore it and to, make a difference. Like, something that I always feel is like, even after I started this podcast, it's still not enough. I still have to give back more to Bitcoin and to Lightning and find more things to kind of, make myself useful with. So, I feel like that would apply to anyone that's listening as well.
I back that 100%. That's true. There's so much to be done across the spectrum, right? There's education. There's just being a user who submits bug reports. Don't underestimate that, right? Hi, I was trying to do this, it didn't work. Awesome. With details, right? That's killer, right? That
with
is what
details.
With details. But that is what sets my day, right? I get one of those emails, that's what I'm doing today, right? You get to steer the boat by sending me bug reports and problems and things that you couldn't do. Okay, so it is nice someone to tell me about things you could do too, but those reports are key, right?
My first interaction with Rusty was I was asking on Telegram about something about running a Bitcoin node on one computer and a C Lightning node on another computer miles away, and it was failing. I don't remember exactly, but then Rusty fixed it on the spot. Like, he added some stuff, like increased the timeouts for the calls because the blocks had to go from one machine to the other, and it was taking a long time. And then after that, it worked very well for a long time.
I remember that. Yeah, it's like, hold on, wait, why would anyone ever do that? Okay, sure, that's fine. I had never thought of that. Let's fix that. But that's the thing. There's so much stuff we could be doing that unless you come forward and say, hey, I'm having this problem. I really want to do this. We'll never know. So that, totally sets my priority list.
So I think I have two final questions here, kind of opposites of each other. I'll ask the kind of more positive one first. No, actually, I think I'll ask the more negative one first. So I kind of asked Fiatjaf this already, but I'm just going to ask both of you. What do you think is generally missing from the Lightning Network ecosystem right now? So either on the protocol side, the application side, anything. Like, what do you think is missing right now from our world?
Users.
Yeah,
definitely true.
Some of these problems were just solved by a larger network, more users, more stuff. More users drives everything else, right? It drives more devs, it drives more liquidity, it drives more education resources, it drives more awareness, it drives more vendors taking it, it drives more different use cases. Fundamentally, it drives everything. So Fiatjaf's answer was both funny and obvious, but also key. For me, there's maturity stuff, right? There's a whole heap of tweaks, like, that we spend a lot of time talking about, like trying to minimize channel closures and stuff like that. More polish is always going to happen. There's a pile of little things that I really like. There's technical changes like the dual funding with liquidity advertisements that Lisa's working on and furiously trying to get into this next C Lightning release, which I'm hugely looking forward to having its open marketplace for liquidity, which will be amazing. So there's a whole pile of that. Obviously, I really like offers. I'm actually really excited about recurring offers. This is like really good for this like sort of Patreon model, or like, cool, I want to give you $5 a month for some subscription, or just because I like you, whatever. And having that all handled inside the wallet is key, and a really nice feature to have. So that's a good thing. I think that what Breeze Wallet is doing with basically the embedding payments in the podcast reader stuff is something I never would have really thought of, but people seem to really love it. And that goes back to like more users, and that whole ecosystem could easily take off. So, they're currently using KeySend. I think there are some, I would love them to start using offers for that, because I think that gives you in some ways a better experience, but whatever, right? So
one thing is, like, when people that are not involved in don't know anything about Lightning, like, they learn about things that they could do, they get amazed by it. And it's like very, very simple things. Like the crypto graffiti guy wanted to do a live stream, a DJ live stream, and he wanted to split the payment. Like, get donations and split the payments between him, the DJ, and the music producers. And I told him, well, we can do it like in a custodial way in a server. We can't really do it non-custodially. It gets too complicated, but on a custodial server, it's very easy to do. And he was oh no, that's amazing. I didn't expect this to be so. Like, it's a very basic thing. I don't know how, like, I imagine there are other people out there that need stuff and would like stuff, but they don't know it's possible to do, like, with a little bit of programming and lighting.
Absolutely, and that's very true.
So I want to go ahead and ask the reverse to that question. What are we doing well in the Lightning Network ecosystem? Because it seems like things are growing, maybe kind of at a kind of reasonable pace here. But what are we doing well overall, this ecosystem here?
The fact that we're growing means that we're doing something right? The organic growth is really nice to see, right? We're seeing just people growing it because Lightning's useful for them and they're using it. I think we do that pretty well. Because we don't want to get slammed with all these massive new users all at once and kind of the problems that comes with. I mean, I like users, but I just don't want too many at once, right? Because a few more users gets you more stability, more bug reports, but a wave of users gets you flooded by kind of, if 1% of your users have an issue every so often, then you're gonna there's a limit on how many users you can kind of handle at once ramping up. So I think that organic growth has been fantastic for us. I think the increasing emphasis on privacy and the directions that everyone wants to go are really promising and really good. I think generally the broader interaction that we're having, the spec process works reasonably well. It's a little bit slow, but everyone still interoperates with everyone else, and we still there's been a lot of progress on new proposals in the spec and stuff like that, so that all the increasing number of implementations that we're seeing now can all kind of work together and we haven't seen like massive network splits where where we have incompatibilities and stuff. So I think that is working really well. And Fiatjaf, what do you think? What do you think are the good things?
Well, I am very optimistic because I think we have all these other scaling solutions besides Lightning, like state chains, side chains, whatever, and drive chains, but I think Lightning will be the core payment method for everything in the future. Like if we get Bitcoin adopted more and these other things start coming, like we will have, I imagine, like interoperability between all them using Lightning as the core. So I think we're on the right spot here, and I would like to see more progress on these sides, like making Lightning the core network for all payments, whatever. I think we're on the right track.
I agree, and I must say it was gratifying because sometimes it feels like everyone in the Bitcoin world is all about store of value, and the Lightning Network is kind of not on their radar. But then I've got to say, and I don't usually get too pumped about stuff happening in the broader ecosystem because it's good days and bad days. But the El Salvador stuff, that interest was led by the Lightning Network. And that's refreshing to see.
Yeah.
That is a Lightning Network story of people actually using it, actually needing it, actually finding it useful. And, that for me is gratifying. It's like we always kind of said, hey, this is important. But the narrative's, really shifted while we're working on the Lightning Network to be, it's store of value. And we're kind of like, well, payments are important. I thought, well, maybe they'll come out of store of value. Eventually everyone will have Bitcoin and they'll now then start looking to how to spend it. So it was nice to kind of see that.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think we're going to go ahead and stop there. Was there anything else you guys wanted to hit before I ended the show here?
Well, I'm hoping at some stage we can do this face-to-face, then I can get Fiatjaf's autograph. So my life will be complete.
You're not recording anymore, right?
I'm still recording. But all right. Well, we'll assume that's a no for now. And so could I have Rusty go ahead and let the listeners know how they can find you on the interweb?
Yeah, so I'm Rusty_Twit on Twitter. That's probably the best way to contact me. But if you Google, you'll find me. Rusty@blockstream.com is my email if you want to reach out for some reason. But yeah, I'm always happy to chat about Lightning and related things. So.
And Fiatjaf?
I have a website, fiatjaf.com. Very nice domain. There are links there. Yeah, it's Fiatjaf everywhere. So
ANYPREVOUT.xyz.
yeah, that's what Chaz likes. Like the most useful soft fork someone came up with. Much more useful than Taproot.
I think Fiatjaf owns all of XYZ. Like, he's the only person I know who's ever had XYZ domains, and he has multiple. So
yeah, it's a very cheap domain.
Right? All right, guys. Well, I appreciate both of you joining me on the Lightning Junkies podcast.
awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Boom. That was the 46th episode of the Lightning Junkies podcast. How'd you guys like that one? I enjoyed it. Quick announcement that I'm going to kind of hide here in the outro where no one's going to listen to it. I'm going to try to do intros and outros just kind of generally less and make them more informal and just kind of make them baked into the episode. I do want to remind people about Breeze and how they can support the podcast. You know, this being a community-supported podcast is something that I talked about in the first few episodes of Lightning Junkies, and I think I've been getting more and more convinced by more recently. Someone, randomly donated or, provided a value for value transaction, whatever the fuck you want to describe that as. But, someone, gave us a good amount of Bitcoin to cover our expenses for many months on end. So that's much appreciated. And I think really the way that I want to finance the show, I don't want to have advertisements. I don't want to have bullshit at the beginning of the podcast kind of weighing it down, a bunch of announcements, a bunch of me having to be fake. Oh, check out this exchange. It's great. Like, no, man, I just don't give a shit. Like, I want to have the conversations that people really care about, in relation to Bitcoin and in relation to the Lightning Network. I don't want to stuff them full of inauthentic opinions about products I kind of like in order to make sure I can make money off the fucking thing. I would rather have the thing be useful. I would rather produce useful content first and just be pissing money away versus having money come in but actually have the podcast be a vacant, useless, like, commercial piece of shit. So, that's where I am in reality. So I didn't want to spend too much time here at the end. I think I'm still going on too long, but I think this is me being authentic and honest. So hopefully you can forgive me for this, the 5 people that are taking the time to listen to this. So if you genuinely got something back from this episode, other episodes of Lightning Junkies, please take the time to go to lightningjunkies.net/support and drop some Bitcoin. We spend hundreds of dollars a month on this podcast, on running a Bitcoin Lightning routing node and having really low fees because, we want to have an altruistic Lightning node, and we find that's very important. And we want to have a podcast that's also a community-driven project and not a commercial ad-filled piece of shit. Thank you for listening to this rant, and I'll see you on the Lightning Network.